Hello and welcome back. It's so good to see you today and every day. Thank you for being here. I felt I owed you a little explanation. The other day I was talking to you about, hope and promise, and your life can be whatever you want it to be, and, living a life of passion. And, I alluded to the fact that years ago I wanted to be a flight attendant, and then I didn't do that, and that there was about, a 30-second thought of becoming a nurse, which, hallelujah, that never happened. But what I didn't share with you is what I ended up doing. And some of you who know me well know that years ago, right after high school, I ended up joining the Marine Corps. And I don't really talk about this very often anymore. I don't know why. I think, maybe in part, it's because I just, I look at the people that serve today, the men and women that serve, and they're, in combat again and again and again. And I don't, discuss politics on here. I just, don't go into any of that. But I maybe I feel a little embarrassed. Maybe that's the truth, that, I was in during a very peaceful time, and, more or less, certainly by today's standards. And so I don't discuss it. I don't feel as though I have as much to say as the people who serve now do. But that was then, and I will share my story with you. When I was very young, I used to go, some girls visit the mall. Well, I used to visit the recruiter's office. And from the time I was about 15, I had a pretty solid idea that this is kind of what I had in my mind that I was going to do. And so I would visit the recruiting offices, and I would get the posters of the fighter jets and of the tanks. And and I'm not laughing. It's not a funny thing at all. It's just that it's kind of funny if you saw the placement of these posters in my bedroom with the butterfly canopy bed and the sheer curtains that were, pulled back by the pink straps that would separate them on either side. So it was comical in that regard. And it was just such an unlikely pairing, but I kind of had this in my heart that this is what I wanted to do. And it wasn't necessarily that I was going to go in forever, but I did want to do something. I felt compelled to serve on some level for some period of time. And, my mother, being the saint that she is, which she is, she kept this little thing in her Bible for many years. And when I was very little, I kind of vaguely remember the tail end of the Vietnam War. I was born in 1966, so I was very young. But I guess, during a church service, I wrote this little prayer for the war to end, and, for God to watch over the troops. And she kept this thing, and it was, dog-eared and weathered and torn. And it was kind of, laid upon my heart, even when I was really little, that I wanted to do something. And when I was older, I contacted, a lot of people don't know this. I don't even know if my husband knows this, but I got in touch with and I wrote letters to the veterans. There was a VA hospital down in the Philadelphia area. And I said, what can I do to help? I want to do something. And as I, told you before, nursing was probably not the right avenue for me personally, but I received a letter back from this support group, and they, read my letter or whatever, and said that what I could do was to serve. So anyway, I ended up enlisting, and I'm a girly girl. I don't know if you can sense that or not, but I am. I'm very feminine, and I'm all about the jewelry and the hair and the nails and the makeup and whatever. And I like girls a lot. But I enlisted, and at that time, there were very few women who did. And if you did, and you were a female, chances are you went in the Navy or the Air Force. There were very few women. I mean, there were some, but not a lot, not a lot. And in fact, after boot camp at my first school that I went to, my MOS school, in our barracks, there were 250 males and there were 8 of us, 8 females, just to give you an idea. So, you know, statistically, we were not of, you know, a great population. And, you know, I just remember wanting to make a difference in some small way. And was I good at it? Was I not good at it? I don't know. I was never very, you know, strong and burly, and wasn't on like a female wrestling team or anything like that, in case you haven't gathered. But I did the best I could. I wanted to be there. So when I was there, I tried to be present and contribute in some small way. And I did so willingly and enthusiastically. I mean, I hope anyway, and certainly brought good cheer. So I guess maybe, you know, contributing in that sense. But I don't talk about it a lot anymore. And it's not part of my everyday vernacular. And I live in a military town, but I've been out now for many years, and I am very honored to have been part of that I was part of serving, and that the Marine Corps was part of my life and the people with whom I was stationed and knew, and I'm still friends with today. But, you know, there again, you know, life is full of surprises. I was a very unlikely candidate, and I have one friend who kind of makes fun of me, and he knows who he is, and I love you, you know I do, and you know who you are. But he makes fun of this rabbit coat, this rabbit fur that I wore the night I was shipping off to boot camp. And it was the 5th of February. It was the middle of a blizzard. I had never flown before. And a recruiter showed up at the house at 2 in the morning. And, you know, there was very little literature on how to prepare us as females for enlisting. Everything was kind of geared and oriented to the male recruits and the male candidates. And so I had like a black and white little brochure from the 1950s, and they talked about wearing a pantsuit. I mean, do you even know what a pantsuit is? But so I'm like, okay, well, this is what it says. And it was cold. And so I wanted to wear my rabbit fur, and it was a beautiful coat. And I loved that coat. My grandparents got that for me. So here I was in my pantsuit, and I had my suitcase packed appropriately to the letter of the law. And if you know me, you know that I'm not much of a rule breaker. And if this is what it mandates and dictates, then by golly, that's what my, you know, suitcase will look like, or my, you know, briefcase, or whatever it is that I'm required to do and that is requested of me is what I'm going to give you. And so anyway, yeah, he made fun of me for that coat. But when I landed, they were furious because it needed to be kept in a cool facility. And I was down at Parris Island over the winter months, but of course it was going to be spring. So they had to house this coat at a special facility out in town that, you know, I paid for. They were not happy. They were not happy with me. But they got over it in a hurry because I was a recruit that, you know, yeah, I guess I got a little bit of that Private Benjamin thing going on, maybe just a little. But I wanted to be there. So you know, people will say, oh, you know, I bet that was a nightmare for you, and I bet you really struggled, and I bet it was difficult. I mean, it was challenging, but at the end of the day, they knew I wanted to be there, and I brought my A game, people. And so I gave them the best that I had to give, fur coat and all. And this is just who I am, and this will always be who I am. But still, I didn't think I was better than anybody else. I didn't think I was worse than anyone else. I was there to do a job, and I hope I did that to the best of my ability. And what I loved about being part of that, I grew up in it, you know, just with people that were very much like me. And all of a sudden, I was in this melting pot, and there were girls from all walks of life, and they were different. And some were from the country. You know, some actually grew up on farms. Others were inner city girls, and they had a rough life and lived in, you know, under impoverished circumstances. And some were, for lack of a better word, just average white girls like me. You know, they were Caucasian gals, and others were Hispanic or Asian or African American, and we all worked together. And that is one thing that really stayed with me, that we were all there united for the same purpose. And even though I was in for a number of years, and I am very fortunate to have had that experience, I did not stay in forever, and I didn't necessarily want to make a career out of it. But what I loved about that experience was that we worked, there was no one, we worked as a team. And I try to be of that mindset and that mentality today, and just in, you know, kind of everyday walk of life, that, you know, we're all in this human experience together. And, you know, it's like, oh God, there she goes again. Yeah, there I go again. I mean, I believe in that. And with everything that's on the news, and it's always bad, and it's horrible, and it's sad, and it's gut-wrenching, and it's divisive, and it seems so hopeless, and things seem so futile, and I worry about the future for Jimmy. What is this world going to look like? And, you know, it's much more likely that today I'm probably a far more likely Peace Corps candidate than a Marine Corps candidate. And it makes me sad when I see the division and how people and families and lives are just shredded, just torn apart. And people that, men and women that serve today, go to combat tour again and again and again, and the sacrifices that they make for their families and often with their lives. It's humbling, you know, and it's heart-wrenching. And I am not in anymore. They don't want me. I have way too much jewelry, way too much hair. I'm entirely too high maintenance. Oh, and I'm almost 50. So, you know, physically I could probably do it. I'm probably in about the same shape as 30 years ago, if not better. But I'm kind of old, and I'm kind of set in my ways. And I am so thankful for those who do serve. And I am honored that I could be part of that. And I am thankful to my mother for saving that, you know, that little prayer in her Bible. And I will bet you dollars to donuts she still has it in there today. I had horrible little handwriting and spelling, but I was 4. What do people want? And, you know, 4 or 5 years old. And if you were to ask her, I'm sure she would still remember that. But that's my story about the Marine Corps. And yes, my friend who makes fun of me for my rabbit fur coat, I forgive you and I love you. And for all the friends who were supportive during that time, you can do anything you set your mind out to do. I was not athletic. I wasn't not athletic, but I just, you know, wasn't part of my everyday landscape, you know. But my heart was there. And if your heart is in something, there is very little you can't achieve and that you can't do. And you just have to have a willing spirit and believe in the best possible outcome and enjoy it while you're there in that present moment. And good things will come. And you'll have that memory and that experience and those people for all of your life. And it's a gift. It's all a gift. Every day is a gift. Every day's surprises are a gift. And our setbacks are a blessing. And the things that work in our favor, well, that's a gift too. It's all a gift. All of it. It's all encompassing. So I just wanted to share that with you. I thank you for the indulgence of that. And I wanted to play this for you. I love this song. And here you go. You get Carly Simon today.